its act and everything has to be undertaken. And in this aspect, there is an important role for the political parties. Political parties are very important, crucial in shaping up the understanding of the people also. At the same time, they are very important in making the demands or converting the demands into reality. If political parties are not in favor of any demand, if they are opportunistic or if they are adamant, if they are not in favor of any demand, the people's movement cannot achieve the ultimate goal of making the state as a reality. Telangana demand has undergone such changes starting from 1952 or 1957, 56 you can say. So, for 52 is the first agitation for Mulki. In that Mulki agitation itself, there was an inherent demand for Telangana. But 1956, with the merger with Andhra, Telangana has it lost its identity and it is part of United Andhra Pradesh. As we all know, from this period onwards, again till the last phase of our movement, there were different phases where mass movements were happening with less intensity and high intensity. 69 was high intensity and 52 was a limited one. And before 69, 68 or 60s, early 60s or post 1969, before 2000, small level activism was there. So all these things are part of mass movement. But what about the political parties which are representing the people in the parliament, are representing the people in assembly? So these parties play a crucial role in making the Telangana dream a reality. So in this topic, today we will be discussing about the role of political parties in the entire period starting from 1952 till the end with different variations. Though we are dealing the topic as a whole, we will be culminating till the process, means 2014 bill also. So this is like a overview of the political parties with regard to Telangana. So we will be discussing about the role, discussing about the stands of the political parties taken in different periods. First the Congress, then Telugu Desam, Bharatiya Janta Party, Communist Party of India, Communist Party of India Marxist, then Majlis Ittihadul Muslimin, that we call it as MIM, and Prajarajyam, Ysr Congress Party, Lok Satta. Why we haven't chosen or why we are talking about the stands of these political parties? It's because they were representing the people in the assembly. They were attending the all party meetings or representing whenever there is a demand or in the final stage the bill, these people were voting in favor or against. So we are talking about the political parties which represented in these things. Apart from this, there are many smaller political parties like Ale Narendra started a political party, Telangana Sadhana Samiti, and Indra Reddy started a political party. Vijay Shanti started political party, Talli Telangana. Devendra Gaud started Nava Telangana. All these political parties, though they were started initially, they merged or just disappeared in the over a period of time. So I am not going to deal with those political parties because they are part of the larger political activism. For example, some political parties are merging with other parties, like Nava Telangana merging with our Prajarajyam. Then Narendra's party merging with TRS. So we are not going to talk about those parties. We are going to discuss about these parties which I have talked about. So first we have to talk about role of Congress. Before starting the role of Congress, I would like to generalize the whole phenomena like political parties, why they change stands or why they take stands first. First of all, their stands are based on their political gains or their political limitations or their political opportunism. What do you mean by gains? For example, if Telangana is granted, this party or my party will be gaining, so definitely I will support. If limitations are there, like for example, if I am going to grant or if I am going to support Telangana at this juncture, my support base will erode, so I will not talk about it. I'll keep it in the back burner. And some parties, when they had an opportunism, when they had an opportunity, like if I am going to support Telangana demand now, I'll get votes. Then they have supported. Again, went back to the original 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 demand. So like this, their understanding, their genesis, their formation, their strength, and their opportunism, their limitations, all these things will get translated into actions whenever there is a demand for Telangana. Telangana is a victim of political parties, I would like to say, because whenever the movement was at its peak, as we have seen, 1969 movement, Telangana Praja Samiti was there, which has to spearhead the movement, but because of the opportunism, because of the limitation and opportunism, because of the upper hand of Congress, the political process is completely scuttled or disrupted at that point of time. So, this is the generalization for all the political parties, whatever it is. So, I am not going to talk about TRS in this chapter because TRS will be discussing separately, because TRS genesis or its origin or its birth is for Telangana. And again, there are many shifts and turns, different periods when TRS was sailing high, when TRS was in a what you call good position to control or steer the parliamentary process. At times, it was at its lowest ebb. So, that part, that is TRS role in Telangana formation, will be dealt in a separate topic. The rest of the parties will be dealt in this topic. So, first let's talk about Congress. Everyone say it is Congress which is responsible for giving or not giving. Yeah, it's true. In the last phase of the movement, 𝗂𝗽𝗍𝗺, then he was in Congress, he was saying in all the political meetings, in Telugu he used to say, Telangana ఇవ్వకుంటే తెలంగాణ తెచ్చేది మేమే ఇచ్చేది మేమే తేకుంటే చచ్చేది మేమే. Means if at all Telangana has to be granted, it is we who has to grant or we have to initiate the process of Telangana. If you don't give Telangana, if that means if Congress is not giving Telangana, if Congress is not supporting the Telangana demand, Congress will disappear. This is what he was talking about. It's true to some extent. The Telangana statehood demand was there since 1952 in a lowest mode, but come 69, it is the highest point. Then again 2000, the new phase. In entire period, which party was at the helms of affairs? Means it was in power, it is Congress. Whether it is center or state, we see the role of Congress in the process of Telangana formation. In 1956, Congress was responsible for the merger with Andhra. Though there were murmuring, though there were protests, though there were dissent, though there were representations, Congress forcibly merged with Andhra because of their limitations, as we have discussed long back in another chapter, merger with Andhra, Nehru's compulsions and Andhra lobby and Telangana's feeble voices together, put together, Telangana and some innocence and some good intention that we all together in one state will grow. All these things resulted in Andhra Pradesh formation. So 1956, the Congress was responsible for the merger, and 56 to 69, again, there were no protest from the Congress leadership. Though a few people, Telangana Congress leaders, were pointing out, they were pointing out to that particular issue, but they are not talking in a broad way, saying that Telangana is becoming a victim, Telangana is victimized, or Telangana's interests are lost. They are not saying like that. Only at times they are talking related to some issues. So, the Congress party cannot justify that the violations or the injustice meted out between 56 and 69, they are also responsible because their government was there in the center and state. Next, Indira Gandhi. If we have to talk about Congress role, the major period is Indira Gandhi period. Indira Gandhi, a strong woman, a strong leader of Congress, emerged in late 60s as a strong leader of Congress and ruled till 84. In the entire period, she was never in favor of Telangana demand. And a big no to Telangana was her motto. For that, to stop giving Telangana, you can go to any extent. Means you can bring 8-point formula, 6-point formula or 5-point formula or anything. You can mend rules, you can bring some new things, but Telangana state will not be granted. That was her stand. In 1969, again, suppression of the whole movement was done by Congress government. Though the leadership is Andhra leadership, what happened to the Telangana leadership? They could have protested. No resignations. If you see the entire period, whenever the Andhra interests are lost, leadership, that is Congress leadership from Andhra, they were resigning or protesting or trying to bring some constitutional crisis. But in Telangana, it was not happening. This is the biggest lacuna from Telangana side in the entire period. They were in the positions, they did not resign and they are not pressurizing the high command. On the other side, Andhra lobby was completely pressurizing the high command. If at all they are not heeding to their requests or heeding to their demands, they are resigning and pushing the central government to listen to them. So, 69 movement was completely suppressed and formulas were brought in and Telangana Praja Samiti was merged. So, all these things are anti-Telangana acts only. And post 1969, Telangana Congress leaders, they could not influence their high command. For example, 69 onwards, TPS was merged. Now, all the people who were taking or who got the votes in the name of Telangana were into Congress. But did they raise the voice? No. They were completely flowing in the stream. They are not against the tide. They are not fighting the things happening. And though they got votes from Telangana demand is in the back burner again. We have seen how Telangana demand was curtailed by bringing in new identities like Telugu Talli or Telugu Mahasabhalu and complete new forms of colonization. All these things are happening. So, nothing was happening in this entire period from Congress leadership side or at least a major section of Congress side. So, what is happening? Telangana is not becoming a reality because of Congress till 1969 and come 2000. This is the last phase I am talking. 11th August 2000, 41 Congress legislators represented to Sonia Gandhi saying that we want separate Telangana. This is not completely their initiative. Some people outside the Congress, like the people who were from Suryapet Declaration, the people who started Telangana Vidyavantula Vedika, or some of the people like V. Prakash are inspired by Kottapalli Jayashankar, Professor Jayashankar. All these people were making some efforts to force Telangana Congress leaders to demand Telangana. So, 11th August 2000, 41 Congress legislators submitted a memorandum to Sonia Gandhi, and this act or this initiative was led by P. Janardhan Reddy. Janardhan Reddy, an MLA from 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝗁𝗃, a strong votary of Telangana. He was very vocal. He was an opponent of Rajshekhar Reddy, Ysr Rajshekhar Reddy. Ysr Rajshekhar Reddy or some of the Congress leaders were taking the other stand. Or you can talk about Chandrababu Naidu, all these periods. He was completely supporting Telangana whenever there is a debate in assembly. So, P. Janardhan Reddy, a strong votary of Telangana, was the person who was active in this signature campaign, and Chinna Reddy, another Congress leader from Mahabubnagar district, was active. So, 2000 memorandum is very, very important. Again, 2001, Telangana Congress Forum was constituted. Telangana Congress Forum. It is not another party. This Telangana Congress Forum is inside the Congress itself. The leaders of Telangana Congress are forming as a forum to discuss the issue of Telangana inside the party, not outside the party. So, this Telangana Congress Forum was started or initiated by Chinna Reddy, and Palvai Govardhan Reddy also played an important role in this Telangana Congress Forum. Then come 2004 elections. In 2004 elections, Ysr Rajshekhar Reddy formed an alliance with TRS. Alliance with TRS and Telangana demand for the first time in history is entering into the central agenda, that is UPA's Common Minimum Program. This Common Minimum Program, they were talking for having some guidelines for the government. UPA was a coalition. Many parties are there. In this many parties coalition, they should have some common agenda. This common agenda is nothing but common minimum program. We call it as CMP. And the CMP, first time they have mentioned about Telangana. The UPA government will consider the demand for the formation of Telangana state at an appropriate time after due consultations and consensus. See the statement very, very keenly. The UPA government will consider, they haven't completely given, they are considering still, the demand for the formation of Telangana state at an appropriate time. What do you mean by appropriate time? Many things, if you have to understand appropriate time, it includes many things, including their own interests, including their own what you call busy things, like if some elections are there outside the state, outside somewhere, and Congress High Command will be focusing on elections, so Telangana demand will not be talked for a few months. If there is any crisis in the party, again they will not talk about Telangana for a few months, like that. Appropriate time, if you take it in a correct spirit, it is a constitutional, means appropriate times means the parliamentary process or the debate should be happening. But it is not the appropriate time in terms of constitution, it is in terms of polity. Their leisure or their busy schedules make the appropriate time to come, unless and until we force it. Remember this aspect. Due consultations and consensus. See, the demand is a very tough demand. Means Telangana is demanding a separate state. Andhra or Rayalaseema together, the erstwhile Andhra state, are not for separation. So where do you get the consensus? Why you add this consultations and consensus? And it's highly impossible to get consensus on this issue. So UPA's common minimum program has a provision saying that we will discuss, we will consider the issue of Telangana. This is the first time. And it was included in the presidential speech when APJ Abdul Kalam was the president. He addressed the joint parliamentary session. See, president addressing the joint session is, if what you call, it's a tradition. When the president addressed in his presidential address in the parliament, he declared the intentions of UPA, that is the coalition government under Congress, led by Congress, about considering the issue of Telangana. This is the first time you are getting into central activity. Then comes the role of Congress in terms of how they are acting upon the demand. First, they have kept in the common minimum program, and TRS joined the party at the central and state level also, part of the coalition. There were ministers, 2 people were the ministers in the center, and 4 plus people were there, ministers in the state, in Ysr cabinet, and their Manmohan Singh cabinet. And time is lapsing. Nothing was done. So in this period, again with the force, when TRS, KCR, all these people resigned from the central cabinet and forcing the Congress to think or talk about Telangana demand, then a committee known as Pranav Mukherjee committee was appointed. This Pranav Mukherjee committee has to look into the aspect like the Telangana demand and other states' demand. Other states are also demanding, like what are the other states which are demanding separate statehood? One is Vidarbha. This is very old demand, starting from 1950s. Like Telangana, Vidarbha demand is decades old. The other demands like Bundelkhand, this is the modern period I am talking about, that is 2004. In 2004, you have new demands like Bundelkhand, Vidarbha, then Harit Pradesh, means merging the areas from western UP, parts of Haryana and Rajasthan into some western UP, a Jat peasant dominant demand. Means Jat peasants will get benefited out of this Harit Pradesh, carving out from the different states where Jats are in the upper hand, where Jats are in the what you call, they have a say in the governance. In Haryana, they have their say. So in UP, they don't have that say. So if Harit Pradesh is created, this agriculturist group will be dominant. That is why Harit Pradesh demand is coming. Then Bundelkhand, a backward region. Telangana, of course, you know. Then Vidarbha, a very old demand. And there is another demand for a separate state in Darjeeling Hills, Gorkhaland. So all these demands are there. So keeping in view all these demands, UPA government has constituted a committee which is known as Pranav Mukherjee Committee with 𝗂𝗶𝗻𝗁 Singh, the RJD leader, and the Minister of Communications, that is 𝗂𝗏𝗍 Maaran from DMK. 𝗂𝗏 Maaran and 𝗂𝗏𝗍 Singh, and these two are members headed by Pranav Mukherjee as the chairman of the committee. So, this committee was declared, but it did not function. It did not function means they did not give the report thoroughly. So, that committee is a what you call it, it is non-starter, or you can say that it did not fulfill its promise, or it did not achieve anything. So, Pranav Mukherjee committee always talked about in this period, some of the Pranav Mukherjee committee is writing letters to the parties to give their opinions. TDP could not give, TDP could not give, and other parties gave, but Congress is also not giving their opinion. This is another important aspect with Congress. Congress always waited for the what you call opinions of other parties and said, once you have the opinion of other parties, first you tell, because we are in the governance, we will tell our opinion later. So that what you call advantage they have taken for being in the position, and they never spelt thoroughly, because they don't want to lose the votes or base in the other part of the United Andhra Pradesh. Telangana will be happy, but other part will kick out Congress from their land. That is their fear. So they were very opportunistic in that sense. Again come 2009 elections. This 2009 elections, 12th February 2009, a new committee was formed, that is 𝗳𝗏𝗍 committee, because this is February, and in the May you will be having elections. So again, when election season comes, you will have the Telangana demand, and parties are very active, whether they have to take a decision or what. So we can see this as an opportunism. Last 5 years they did not do anything, but come 2009, before the next elections in May, 𝗳𝗏𝗍 committee was formed. This 𝗳𝗏𝗍 committee was formed in 2009 by Ysr Congress. This Ysr government has declared that forthcoming elections, see before that they were giving terms of reference, like too many points. They were talking about the demand of Hyderabad, they were talking about the economic aspects, like what will happen to mines. All these things this committee has to, 𝗳𝗏𝗍 committee has to study, if at all you want to divide. And they were talking about Maoism. If a new state is granted, whether Maoism will become more prominent or what. This is the terms of reference they were giving for 𝗳𝗏𝗍 committee. So this committee was having 4 members from Telangana, 3 members from Andhra, except 𝗂𝗶𝗍𝗀𝗻𝗁 Owaisi, all are Congress people. So this committee is a most dominant Congress committee, and not a committee with other parties also. Like we have seen Pranav Mukherjee committee having 2 people from different regions. One is from Bihar, RJD, the other is from Tamil Nadu, and Pranav Mukherjee is the chairman as the minister in the cabinet. So there is some diversity, and here in this aspect, all congressmen sitting and talking about it, except 𝗂𝗶𝗍𝗀𝗁 Owaisi from MIM. So many other parties were sent letters, but they rejected to join this 𝗳𝗏𝗍 committee, because this is, you are talking before 2009 elections. This is nothing but you are trying to make a political opportunity out of it. That is what they felt, so they did not join. And finally, 𝗳𝗏𝗍 committee could not yield any result also, because they were not serious about getting the results. So next, Congress has a strong leader for 5+ years, that is Ysr Congress Reddy, 5.5 years as 5 years and 3 months as CM, and before that also as the Congress president. He has a great say in the party. So Ysr Congress Reddy's opposition to Telangana was known from the beginning. He was dishonest when he is making an alliance with TRS. He was dishonest because if you have to ask for votes in Telangana, that too in 2004, there was a bloody violence because of the suppression unleashed in the village side. Maoists are there and police is there. And in this background, there was much violence, there was much blood spilling out in the streets, in the villages. So people are not happy with the things how they are going on. So in Telangana, if we have to be in the race, Ysr thought that we should go along with the people's pulse. That is why they were talking about all these things. So many points of reference, and Rajshekhar Reddy was having a serious problem with Telangana from the beginning. Only an opportunity call during elections. So immediately after the elections, again he took a U-turn and he was not talking about Telangana. There were many heated debates in Telangana Assembly, and he was completely scuttling the debate, or he was threatening the speakers, and he did not answer. So this was the position of Ysr, that is Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy, with regard to Telangana. 2009, the anti-Telangana campaign, he started from Nandyala. There were two phases of elections. First phase completed in Telangana. Second phase is Rayalaseema and Andhra. He took this opportunity, and till the date the poll in Telangana is over, he did not utter a single word against Telangana openly. But immediately on the next day itself, Telangana elections, the first round elections in Telangana are over. So there are no elections in Telangana. The next elections are in Coastal Andhra, Rayalaseema. Immediately you can see his opportunistic stand. What he said was, if you heed to the demand of Telangana, we, means Andhra people or the Rayalaseema people, has to take visa and go to Telangana. He was threatening, and this consistent campaign was running throughout his campaign, posing Congress victory versus Telangana movement. You can see this is the thing they are doing. So Mahakutami was formed in 2009 with Chandrababu Naidu, TRS and other parties. 2004 Mahakutami, it was Congress plus TRS plus other parties. So whenever he was making Mahakutami or making some compromises, it was to hide his real intentions. But very interestingly, immediately after he won the elections of 2009, immediately he took a clear stand against Telangana. He tried to weaken the party, that is TRS, which is spearheading its agitation for Telangana. So he tried to bring in many people into his party. Bribing people into his party to weaken TRS. That is what he was doing. So TRS weakening was a target in the last months of Ysr rule. That was called as Operation Aakash, that beginning. So Ysr was anti-Telangana in his entire thing. His tirade in assembly was also well known. So this is the position, because I have spoken about Ysr because Ysr was the person who was a strong leader in Congress, who was deciding the things. He is the ears and eyes of the High Command too. So this was the position Ysr held. Next comes Roshaiya as CM. Y.S. Rajshekhar Reddy died in the helicopter accident on September 2nd, 2009. Immediately Roshaiya became the chief minister. And Roshaiya, not a politically, a strong man like Ysr, but he was there as the chief minister, and he did whatever he has to do to scuttle or to to deprive Telangana people their protests and their demand. So what is happening? Roshaiya as CM, he was the one who was arresting KCR when KCR undertook fast. In the all-party meeting occurred in all-party meeting arranged on 7th December, Congress was a divided house. Roshaiya was a CVM, but Congress was a divided house after this 2009. On 7th all-party meeting, all the parties except one or two, they gave clear-cut opinion about Telangana, yes or no. Congress did not give, because they said, we are the ones who are organizing it. So we will give our opinion late. So Roshaiya as CM, again suppression of the movement for the year he was staying in power. Compulsions of Sonia we can see in this entire period. Sonia Gandhi was having some compulsions because it is an alliance, you can't go out of it. The threat to the central government was there. So state government or state leadership was completely in the hands of Andhra rulers, and central government, the situation is very fluid. There were many compulsions for Sonia Gandhi. Then Kiran Kumar Reddy opposed Telangana many times in the assembly. He threatened directly, I will not give a single penny to Telangana, go whatever, wherever you want to go. Go talk to anyone, whoever you want to. This was the threat he was openly declaring in the assembly. So Kiran Kumar Reddy was anti-Telangana. Andhra Congress under him was taking up the tirade against Telangana movement. So in assembly, when the bill was introduced for the opinion, not for voting, remember, the assembly need not take voting. Assembly can give the opinions to the president because he has sent the bill, president sending the bill to discuss in the assembly. So finally, if we have to talk, the entire period, there are some bright spots too. In the last phase, from December 2009, till the declaration, the Congress MPs, 8 Congress MPs, as we know, Ponnam Prabhakar, Komatireti Rajagopal Reddy, Manda Jagannatham, Vivek, Madhu Yashki, Gutta Sukhender Reddy, Sirsila Rajayya, Suresh Shetkar, all these people were trying their level best in the parliament to pressurize Sonia Gandhi or to pressurize the parliament to grant Telangana. Apart from this, Rajya Sabha member 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝗁, who joined TRS later, central ministers from Telangana, that is 𝗳𝗏𝗺 Reddy, 𝗳𝗏𝗺 Reddy, a senior most leader in Congress, Sarve Satyanarayana, member from Cantonment, Balram Nayak, these 3 members were in the central cabinet. So they played an important role with their limitations. So to sum up, Congress has taken many courses of action, like limitations, it was expressed. They were opportunistic at times when it is not helping their victories or when it is not helping their main interests. So this is the role of Congress in entire Telangana formation period. In the first part of the chapter, that is role of political parties, we have discussed about the role of Congress. Role of Congress was discussed threadbare or in elaborate or detailed way. Why? Because Congress has lot of period under its, they were ruling from in the entire period, that is all the 4 decades of this Telangana agitation or movement. So Congress has power and it is in a position to take some decision or make some impact on the movement. So we discussed the role of Congress threadbare. Now in this part 2, we will be discussing about the role of the political parties, other political parties, starting with Telugudesam. Telugudesam, why we are taking up Telugudesam? Because Congress was the only party which ruled Andhra Pradesh. Then the opposition came in the form of Telugudesam, and within 9 months of the formation of the party, Telugudesam, it came to power. Otherwise, starting from our post-independence period or Telangana formation period, Andhra Pradesh formation period, it was a Congress which was in the opposition, which was in the rule. So when we are talking about the political parties, you can't talk about the other parties. There are some parties like Janasangh or Swatantra Party, which were not at all having their presence in Telangana, or they are smaller parties. They impacted in a different way. For example, you take Swatantra Party, they always supported the demand of Telangana. They always supported. They supported here. Gautu-Lachana, who was a signatory for the Gentleman's Agreement, was always critical about the Andhra leadership, and he was the leader of Swatantra Party. N.G. Ranga raised his voice for Telangana in Parliament. He was supporting the demand of Telangana. These 2 people are the only legislators or people's representatives who were voicing their concern about Telangana. The others were not. There are other parties also, like Republican Party of India or the other party, that is Janasangh. They were critical about the role of Indira Gandhi, or some of the other parties like Socialists. At times, whenever there is a debate, they openly came in support of Telangana, or at least they were opposing the stands taken by Indira Gandhi. Like that, there are movements. But come to Telugudesam. Telugudesam party has a specific character. What is the character of Telugudesam? The genesis of Telugudesam itself is in the Telugu pride. Telugu pride is nothing but a common or a feature for Telangana and Andhra. if you want to take in a positive way. But it is a garb for the new ruling class which is coming to power opposing Telangana, opposing Congress. So Telugu Desam, which started as a Telugu pride, was completely what you call, it is covering the original Telangana issue always. Because post 1975 to 83, the colonization aspect we have discussed about Telangana. After that, you are getting Telugu Desam into politics. Once Telugu Desam into power, Telugu Desam is uniting the entire Telugu speaking land for their concerns, for their interests, and for time being, definitely, the identity of Telangana was being blunted or scuttled. Blunted, it's a better word. Blunted means we all under the scheme of Telugu pride. So Telangana people were also, very interestingly, BCs were the votaries. BCs were in Telangana TDP. So automatically Telangana society welcomed TDP. So now what TDP has done to Telangana? Till 2009 elections, TDP was for Samaikandra. It never supported Telangana because its genesis, its leadership, its Politburo, its supreme leader, N.T. Ramarao. He cannot leave Telangana. He was always for United Andhra Pradesh because his whole motto is Telugu pride. He can't leave Telangana. Very interestingly, he lost his election in Mahabubnagar to Chittaranjan Das. That is where you can see still Telangana is not completely accepting the leadership of Andhra. A great leader or having a charisma, that is NTR losing election in Mahabubnagar, is an indication of Telangana always deferred with the Andhra leadership in elections. Then, electoral compulsions are the only thing for Telangana TDP. In 2009, they were out of power from 2004. Ysr Congress defeated Chandrababu Naidu by taking TRS into alliance. TRS was there in power for 2 years and Ysr Congress could win the elections because of the Mahakutami, that alliance, grand alliance. All the votes from different parties you could garner and he came into power. Come 2009 elections, Rajshekar Reddy was sitting pretty with his power and he was opposing Telangana. And now TDP took the opportunity and till then he was never for Telangana. As we already studied, Yanamala Ramakrishnadu ruled that you should not take the name of Telangana in assembly. You just mention as backward area. That much opposition was there. And such a party is coming into alliance along with TRS for votes. For the cause of Telangana, the basic thing is nothing but to take the votes of Telangana, to garner the votes and to come back to power. So that is why in Mahakutami, TDP voted for Telangana. TDP said yes for Telangana. And before that also for Pranav Mukherjee committee, they sent the approval. Means in principle they said we are for Telangana. If you give Telangana, we will vote for it. Like that assurance was given. It means on paper they are saying for Telangana. But in essence they are not for Telangana. So that is why after 2004, in between, by 2008, Devendra Goud, a strong leader in TDP, the person who was second in command in, you can say, from Telangana, and Devendra Goud left TDP and formed a party known as Nava Telangana Party in 2008. So this was because inside TDP there was no place for Telangana demand. So that is why Devendra Goud came out, and 2009 elections it was a compulsion. You can see 2009 elections they were defeated with a narrow margin because Prajarajyam was the spoil sport in the whole thing. Prajarajyam cut the anti-incumbent votes. For example, Congress is there in the power for the past term. The opposition to Congress, the votes who are opposing the ruling Congress are divided and some percent of votes were cut by Prajarajyam and ultimately Mahakutami could not get into power. Again Ysr Congress came to power. So after this you can see 2009 there are serious things are happening within no time. After Ysr Congress's death in the helicopter accident, Roshaya came, and again all we will talk about the whole things in a different chapter. But before 9th December declaration of Chidambaram, when KCR was on fast, on 7th December, there was an all-party meet. Ashok Gajapati attended the meet representing TDP, and he said, we are willing to accept the demand of Telangana. This was the approval from the TDP. On 8th December in Assembly, Chandrababu Naidu was speaking for Telangana in Assembly. On 9th December, Chidambaram gave a statement saying that the process will be beginning. The process only. He is saying the process will be initiated for the formation of Telangana. Process will be initiated. This is the first step, not even first step. This is the intention to start the first step. Within no time, all the anti-Telangana parties or people got polarized under the leadership of Chandrababu Naidu, as we could understand. He was the rallying point for the Samaikandra politics in those days. So, on 10th, immediately he opposed a Chidambaram statement saying that why should you give a statement in the night? Why so hurry? There was a hurry. KCR was on fast. Things were moving on a fast pace. The central government declared it gave its statement on Telangana. It's a policy statement. Remember, this was the first policy statement issued by the central government. In the common minimum program, it was an intention. Now it is the government's statement that the process will be initiated. And now when you heard that this process will be initiated, these people got shocked. All these people were under those anti-Telangana votes were under the anti-Telangana parties were under the impression that whatever you do, you give yes or no, whatever it is, the central government is not going to give Telangana. So why you get a bad name? So you say yes. When the central government has declared Telangana or the process initiation, immediately they got shocked. And now they started the opposition. That is what we see. Even some of the leaders of TDP were saying, we said yes for Telangana because we were under the impression that the center is not going to grant. It means this is a mere opportunism or treachery or a deceit, you can see. So on 10th, he said, we are opposing Chidambaram statement. What is a hurry? You are giving it, you are declaring in the evening, night. Where is the hurry? That's what he said. And since then, the party's policy, Chandrababu has come out with a clear policy. He cannot say no for Telangana because if you say no for Telangana, your entire Telangana party will be wiped out. If you say yes for Telangana, your own base will be cut. So what he was talking is, that is 2I theory, rendu kalla siddhantam. Naku Andhra, Telangana rendu kallu. Because I have two eyes, I can't support anything. My party people will support. In Telangana, Telangana TDP will support Telangana. In non-Telangana region, that is Andhra Rayalaseema, TDP legislators or leaders from this region will support Samaikandra. So both things will run in the same party. This is a divided house, like Congress. Congress is a different story. In Congress, at least it has initiated the process, and Congress is always a different thing. And people will be supporting, some will be opposing. But TDP, more disciplined, much more disciplined party than Congress in all the times. This man, that is Chandrababu Naidu, has clearly given a statement saying that this is the 2I theory. So you do whatever you want, so that you can retain your base in Telangana too. This is what I called as opportunism. You are not taking a stand on a just demand. If you don't think that it's a just demand, you say it's an unjust demand. But when you say you can do this, you are allowing this and that, and this is nothing but it is a what do you call? It is an opportunistic stand, I say. So this we can see always TDP was playing this opportunistic stand. In the last phase, till the last phase also, TDP people were supporting Telangana movement, and Andhra Rayalaseema leaders were supporting Samaikandra movement. They were vehemently opposing in the parliament. Their leader like Sushma Swaraj, Ramesh, all these people were opposing with the placards. They were saying save Andhra Pradesh, and no one was discouraging them. So opposition in the parliament, there were two parties who were opposing strongly. One is, of course, some of the Congress leaders. Second is TDP. And third is Ysr Jagan. These people were opposing with placards inside the Parliament House, we can see. So this is the role of Telugu Desam during this entire period. Now, we'll discuss the role of BJP, Bharatiya Janta Party. Bharatiya Janta Party was never in power in the state. And in the center, it came very late, post Ram Janmabhoomi issue. So, the earlier avatar is, that is Janasangh. Janasangh, a party which was the predecessor for this BJP. Janasangh was critical of Indira Gandhi's positions in the parliament, but not completely into supporting or completely openly supporting Telangana like Arya Samaj or any other group. But Janasangh was critical of Indira Gandhi's position. 𝗵𝗵𝗺𝗺 was criticizing Indira Gandhi whenever she is declaring a new formula. And the violence in Hyderabad or Telangana districts, he was concerned, he was talking about it. So all the parliamentary records show that Janasangh was critical of Indira Gandhi. It's quite natural because you are in opposition, definitely you are criticizing it. And it did not take a serious stand directly, and it was a nominal, in Telangana, BJP was a nominal force always. So you can't expect them to come out or lead the agitation, but they have to spell out their stand. And their stand became very clear only after some time, after the formation of BJP. BJP formulated one position, came out with a formula that smaller states will bring us power. Means if you divide bigger states, you can easily enter into smaller states. That is why smaller state policy was a very, very important policy in the earlier years of BJP. That is why they supported the formation of Uttarakhand. They named it as Uttaranchal, carved out of UP, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. They were supporting. They have carved it. Though the process was initiated or there was a talk during Deve Gowda period also. So, formation of smaller states was the policy of BJP. They were supporting it. So, as a result, in Telangana, in Andhra Pradesh too, they came out with a slogan at Kakinada meeting in 1997. They came out with a slogan, one vote, two states. It's like a bargain. You vote for BJP, you give me one vote, we'll give you two states. It looks like some advertisement, and really it was an advertisement. This will appeal to Telangana, and Coastal Andhra did not care for it, that slogan. But Telangana definitely, this will, even a smaller statement will definitely soothe our feelings. So Telangana was serious about this one or two states. They were talking openly about the BJP is the only party which can give you Telangana. But nothing was happening. And 𝗬𝗓 Narendra quit BJP in 2001. 𝗬𝗓 Narendra, a strong leader, a big leader from Hyderabad, a staunch leader of this BJP politics. And he was, you can say, he has a lot of clout in Hyderabad city. And Narendra quit BJP in 2001 and formed a party known as Telangana Sadhana Samiti. This Telangana Sadhana Samiti, he formed it because in BJP there is no one who is serious about Telangana demand. He, along with Mechineni Kishan Rao and some more people like Shamantak Reddy, and these people were into Telangana Sadhana Samiti. And later, after a few months, after TRS formation, because of the initiative taken by KCR and other leaders too, that 𝗬𝗓 Narendra's party was merged with TRS. So, BJP, though they declared that we are for Telangana, there was a split in the party itself and new party was formed. And under NDA, though they gave all smaller states, they were ruling for 5 years. Entire 5 years. If you are serious about one vote, two states, why you haven't initiated the process of Telangana formation? It is because Advani in one of the statements said, it is because of the pressure from Chandrababu Naidu, we were not giving you Telangana. It means Chandrababu was completely against giving Telangana because he has stakes and he could pressurize the NDA. And Telangana was not granted during NDA period because of Chandrababu Naidu. then what you have to think about TDP's position or Chandrababu Naidu's position when you talk about Telugu Desam, you can understand. So this is about BJP, but in the latter phase, you can see by 2005, the activists inside BJP could convince their central leadership, and finally, inside BJP also there is a favorable understanding about Telangana. So in the last phase, when JAC, Joint Action Committee, was formed, they were part of it. They were actively taking part in JAC because it is a joint platform. Many parties are there. There are some parties which are from ML, some groups like New Democracy, CPML New Democracy, TRS, and many other parties, and BJP was part of it. Though their representation is not up to the mark inside JAC, as they are part of JAC, we can say that they were part of the movement for some time. And interesting aspect is Sushma Swaraj, when she came to Hyderabad, there was a meeting in Nizam College organized by AVP and these people, BJP people, to address the Telangana society and Telangana movement. Sushma Swaraj appealed against the suicides. She said, please don't commit suicides. So we have to fight and get Telangana. That was a good appeal in that sense, because suicides are the very tragic propositions happening in Telangana society during that period. No sane leadership, no leadership was ready to fight or ready to take this aspect mainly. People were dying in suicides, committing suicides. So Sushma Swaraj appealed from the dais, and she said, we are for Telangana, we support Telangana. And in the last aspect, if you want to give credit to BJP about Telangana, Congress is ready to introduce the bill, but if BJP opposes, as that is a principal opposition, main opposition, you cannot pass the bill. So cooperation from BJP is also very important. So in the end, when Congress introduced the bill or making the process move forward, BJP cooperated. So ruling party plus opposition together made the parliamentary process smooth. So role of BJP can be attributed for smoothly passing the bill in the last phase. So this was the role of BJP. And come to the role of CPI. Communists have a small problem with Telangana. The problem is, when they were so powerful in 1950s, CPI led the Telangana armed struggle, and after the Telangana armed struggle, they were into elections. Because of Telangana armed struggle, communists had a strong base in Telangana society, villages. And that base was translated into votes, and many candidates won, and they are representing the people in the assembly. At one point of time, Ravi Narayan Reddy was challenging Nehru to come and contest on him. That was the strength of communists in Telangana because of the Telangana armed struggle. So CPI, in those days, formulated when there is a talk of unifying or merging Telangana part of Hyderabad state with Andhra. That is, Vishalandhralo Prajarajyam. The leadership of CPI, then CPI, you don't have CPM then. Leadership of CPI, Communist Party of India, were thinking that if we have Telugu areas together, since you have much influence of Communist Party in Telangana, that influence can be spread to Andhra areas too, and further we can grow. So come to power through elections also, they might be thinking. So the influence of Telangana should fall on Andhra, and Andhra also, leadership is from Andhra, most of the communist leadership is from Andhra. The complete state level leadership is from Andhra, and cadres and the movement, strong movement is from Telangana. So CPI leadership then thought that it's better we have both areas together so that this influence can be translated into votes or power in Andhra too. So that is why they came out with the slogan, Vishalandhralo Prajarajyam. That is why, again, when you are talking about the bill, CPM people were saying that a linguistic state. Vishalandhra, that is Andhra, because you are Telugu speaking people, you are into one state. That is what their understanding was. So this is the essence of communism originally. So CPI, which divided into CPI and CPM later in 1964, we are talking about CPI stand now. CPI was against Telangana in the beginning. Till 2009, they were not seriously taking any stand. But post 2009, they are mending or they are changing their stance and they are supporting Telangana. CPI leadership, after 2009, this December declaration, at many places when CPI leadership went, like Narayana went to 𝗂𝗽𝗱𝗁 University, their students out him, said, you tell your stand now, then only you will go. Give a slogan that 𝗳 Telangana, then we will leave you. That is how they have out many leaders. Even Nagam Janardhan Reddy, like people from TDP were out. 𝗘𝗍𝗍 was out on the tank bund. Madhu Yashki was out. So people were forcing the leaders in other parties to take a clear-cut stand. In that process, CPI Narayana was out and CPI leadership was from inside in the party, there was serious pressure. So finally CPI took a decision in favor of Telangana. Since then, they are completely with Telangana. And they have organized a Telangana Poru Yatra from Jordan Ghat to Hyderabad, speaking the issues of Telangana, supported the Telangana Formation Bill in Parliament. They were active in many things, like Narayana was openly speaking for Telangana, and Gunda Mallesh, their representative in Assembly, was talking for Telangana, attending the meetings of other activists who are calling for meetings. For example, Telangana Journalist Forum was calling for a meeting. Telangana Journalist Forum organized a mock assembly or many all-party meetings, non-governmental meeting. Gunda Mallesh was coming and speaking for Telangana in all those meetings. That is how CPI played a positive role in the last phase of the movement. Then comes the stand of CPM. CPM, Communist Party of India, Marxist. Their stand is completely different from CPI. They retained the stand of opposition to Telangana, which they had earlier and continued till the end. But a small change. The change is, we don't support Telangana, but at the same time we don't oppose. If you are bringing the bill, we don't oppose, but we don't support openly. That is our stand. This was a slight change in the stance. They were opposing Telangana till the formation, in essence. Because if you are not supporting, you are abstaining or you are opposing, ultimately you are in the opposition, you are not in support. Because as I have already discussed, that policy of Vishaladra Prajarajyam and policy of linguistic state, you can understand. These two things played an important role. Then, Sitaram Yechury, the leader of CPM, abstained from voting when the bill came in Parliament in 2014. Sitaram Yechury, he did not vote. It means you are opposing the bill. In essence, you are opposing the formation also. You are abstaining the bill. You are not saying no, but you are abstaining means definitely pro votes will be divided. So CPM never supported in open or completely and did not oppose to suit the condition. That's it. Suit the condition means what? If you don't support also, the thing is rolling on. With your vote, there is no change. CPM voting out, CPM opposing Telangana bill will not do anything because already Congress and BJP numbers are enough to get Telangana. So still they maintain their ideological clarity or supremacy or opportunism or understanding, whatever you call, and said we are abstaining vote. This is the role of CPM. Then next one is MIM, Majlis Party. Majlis Party opposed the merger with Andhra because they are into Hyderabad state. But since then, they are not in favor of Telangana because they were in tandem with the ruling class always. So after 1957, they were completely not into the formation of Telangana. They want to be part of Andhra Pradesh only. Their prominent leader, their founder, they are not founder actually, their resurrecting leader means MIM is an old party. It was started in 1930s and 1957. They call him as Salar Sahib, that is Sultan Salahuddin Owaisi in 1989-90 period. Only for one time, he joined Telangana Sangarshana Samiti, a small coalition, to support Telangana, but only once. That is the only one phase or 1 year we can say. But later they did not support Telangana movement. And final stage, when Sri Krishna committee came, they were expressing their opposition to Telangana. and they were demanding, their demand is Rayala Telangana, carve out 2 districts from Rayalaseema, that is Kurnool and Anantapur, join with Telangana, and a creation of Rayala Telangana was the demand brought out by MIM. Why Rayala Telangana? Again, this is a question of votes. More number of Muslim votes in these 2 districts, make it part of Telangana, and you will have your say or power. This is another opportunism, another type of opportunism. So MIM was in essence not in favor of Telangana. Took time to readjust after the formation of Telangana. And then comes Prajarajyam, which is not existing now. And Prajarajyam's philosophy is, I would like to say, it is confusion compounded. Confusion compounded means it's always confused because you don't have the ideological clarity. If you don't have the ideological clarity, you are always confused. Flip-flop, you will be changing your stance. And Nava Telangana party, when it merged with Prajarajyam, then they have to take a stand. And they came out with the slogan of Prajaswamika Telangana, Democratic Telangana. Democratic Telangana or Prajaswamika Telangana means what? First is you have to get the geographical Telangana. You fight for democracy in the party, in this also. You want to show something different because the ideologues of Prajarajyam, if we go through the names, they are from Andhra. There is no ideologue from Telangana who is what you call influencing Chiranjeevi. Many ideologues like Dr. Mitra, he is from Nellore, he is from Puchalapalli Sundarayya's grandson, and he was into support of Samaikyananda. So you can't expect them to be pro. But the situation is different. Chiranjeevi mass base is there in Telangana. So they came out with this slogan. But finally, when the real issue came, when the bifurcation issue has come, Prajarajyam gone back with the promise. And they went into that camp of Samaikyananda. So the reason of Prajarajyam's flip-flop or confusion is Chiranjeevi is politically an ignorant man. Politically ignorance means he is not politically sharp in that sense. He is a charismatic leader, actor, and he has a great following, a good actor. But politically, he is not so sharp. So automatically, your political ignorance will translate into that. Plus, mentors, his mentors are anti-Telangana. So this is about Prajarajyam. Then comes Ysr. Ysr Congress, we have already talked about Ysr's opposition. And his successors, they did not openly, discussed about anti-Telangana. Because in Telangana, you have a mass base. If you say no to Telangana, your mass base will erode. So again, they have taken shelter behind Article 3 in the crucial juncture. When the debate was on, Ysr party has brought out a point that, see, we are not in a position to give or take. Who are we? We don't have that strength. So the center, which has the power, can use Article 3 and do whatever it wants. We can't stop or we can't initiate. So they are not spelling out to save their base in Andhra. They are not spelling out their opposition to save their base in Telangana. Finally, when the voting is happening, their leader Jagan opposed Telangana, and he took the placards, and the placards were displayed to save Andhra Pradesh, opposing Telangana, and he tore the copies of the bill. So that was the overt expression of opposition to Telangana by Jagan. That is Ysr Congress rule. Then comes the last party, a small party, a lone leader, that is Jayaprakash Narayan, and he is always escaping behind an intellectual interpretation of things. State formation is not a solution, he says. And state formation is not a solution, and he will not oppose directly, but opposes through the statement, slips inside the intellectual formulations, and tries to influence the central government. He used to have his discussions, or he used to have appointments with Prime Minister when TRS leaders or some other leaders are not getting. He is trying to influence his opinion, through his opinion, at the center. That is what he was doing. So he opposed Telangana in essence, he did not support, but his party cadres were supporting Telangana demand. So if you see smaller parties, but in essence they are not for Telangana, except TRS and divided houses of Congress and TDP. All are taking some opportunistic positions. CPI, of course, though it's a small party, took a clear position. So these are the political parties taken this. So how to conclude? I formulate the whole thing into these sentences. If you are writing about the role of political parties, you can represent the whole aspect like this. Opportunism was the main aspect of political parties regarding Telangana movement. Opportunism. Except TRS, which has only one agenda, that is Telangana, all other parties were harming the interests since all parties have genesis or stake in Andhra too. Third point, Congress could have emerged as the giver of Telangana, but its Andhra lobby was so strong and always at the right time it took a wrong decision on wrong turn or delayed the formation of Telangana. Otherwise, Congress would have been emerged as a co-champion along with TRS, but it missed that opportunity. And last point, the mass movement of Telangana combined with parliamentary efforts of TRS and the final stage Congress, this was the reason for achieving Telangana. So on one side, mass movement was there, on the other side, political parties were there, which gave us Telangana. Without this combination, Telangana could not have been achieved. That is the essence of this chapter. That is the role of political parties.